But, hey, Brett Constable, it certainly feels sweet to win one at the UK Open, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah. First win I've had for a couple of years now, so quite chuffed with that. And to win one at such a big weekend, can't grumble at all, quite happy.
And on the last bend too, holding out.
Well, yeah, to be honest, I didn't know I was actually winning it. I thought Ashley England was in front when he moved me a couple of laps before, but turns out he was a lap down. And yeah, so I've been told there was Calvin Marshall and Gordon Moody in behind me in the last bend, so very happy to win that.
Yeah, and obviously Gordon having his little problem with Mr. Dawson, it could have been a different story. But you held on tight, and that's certainly one for you and one to chalk up with.
Well, definitely, yeah. Never qualified for the UK before, and that was my aim this weekend, so hopefully that'll get me in somewhere near the back of the grid, and we'll go from there and see if we can progress forward with the next lot of points.
Somewhere near the back? Come on, the maximum score you can score is 30 points. You've scored 10. That's going to put you quite in the middle.
Well, the middle's not bad. I'll be quite happy with the middle. As long as it's not front row outside, I think anywhere else will do.
Well, after last year anyway, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that was a bit manic. Not the best place to be.
So what is the plan for this year? Just continue as you are?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. Obviously, doing this weekend. I've booked in for the European next weekend. Obviously, I paid a visit to Cowdenbeath earlier in the year. I want to do another one up there. Just do a bit here and there and see what I can afford to do.
You've got a Scottish girlfriend now?
I have, yeah.
There he is. Brett Constable's off the market, ladies. But obviously, it helps that you'll be doing a few more Scottish trips then.
I have been doing a few, yeah. Obviously, watching these drivers up there, it all helps. So, yeah, no, we're getting there slowly. The car wasn't great earlier on in the year, but now it's getting there, so fingers crossed.
It helps when you have a nice bed to stay in when you're up in Cowdenbeath, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So, meeting final time on a Saturday night, and that was, well, it's always one of these strange anomalies at the Skegness Speed Weekend, is that the consolations and finals don't seem to count for anything apart from the UK Open final, but then it's a big, elongated process. I know that it's a 3 from 8 format.
Yes, well, the what it is that the 5 heats on Saturday nights qualify. They're two-pronged. They qualify for the UK Championship the next day, but they also qualify towards the Saturday night final. And then the top X number of drivers, I think it was 20, 28, 20, I can't, yeah, let's say it was me giving all of this out, and I can't remember. Just goes to show, doesn't it? They went through to the Saturday night final, and then there's a consolation where it made up the last few places as per would be a normal meeting. And then on the Sunday, it was each driver raced in the 3 heats, with the further points being added towards the UK grid, and then the top 30 were set, and then there was the one consolation to make up the final places.
And it was, at the end of the day, in the final on the Saturday night, it was James Riggle that took the win.
Yes, and the final was for the Gus Warner Trophy, a Skegness man, still very much missed around the Skegness and Skegness Stadium area, so it was fitting that it was a driver from Skegness that took the win.
Indeed. And, proving that he is certainly one to watch. And I know that when he took his second in the British, he was from Red, he was from Red, wasn't he? Indeed. So he's no mug at all with the speed, and certainly no mug with the bumper either. Another result has just come in, ladies and gents. Heat number 2 up at Skegness. We have the following results, and it's a good result for the world champion, as he has taken heat number 2 from James Ruggles in 527. Third, 913, James Bartram, Pete Bartram. 846 Ashley England in 4th, Richard Clubley in 5th, 6801 Jack Cave. 4 points and 7th place go to 722 John Broach. 647 Chris Burgoyne taking 3 points from his 8th. Billy Webster at 226 and 571. Darren Clark rounding off the 10. So all eyes on the consolation, and that'll be coming up soon. Let's return now back to talking about the UK Open weekend and the Skegness situation. We had the Saturday all over and done with. Sunday's weather forecast was, shall we say, patchy in places. Indeed. And, proving that he is certainly one to watch. And I know that when he took his second in the British, he was from Red, he was from Red, wasn't he? Indeed. So he's no mug at all with the speed, and certainly no mug with the bumper either. So we look at that situation. We had the Saturday all over and done with. Sunday's weather forecast was, shall we say, patchy in places.
Yes, it was one of those days where every weather forecast said different, and what we got was a mixture of everything. So there you go.
Yes, it was. And I know the first heat was relatively dry. The second heat was an absolute downpour. And the last man on track was Robbie Dawson, and rightly so, because I think he saw it coming. He thought, right, I'm going to change the tyres. I'm going to do all this. None of this getting out the car and doing the old shocker shuffle. It was a case that he came on grid and absolutely drove an absolute storming race in the wet, and I spoke to him pretty soon after.
Hey, it's sunny Skegness. If I said it was sunny, I'd be lying, because it was absolutely teeming it down for Heat 2. And the man who was last on track certainly was the man who was first across the line. And that's Robbie Dawson. Robbie drove quite well in that one.
Yeah, just the right conditions, right tyre choice, right car setup, and just ideal. It's the kind of conditions we're used to now, and it's quite light, so the car goes well in it. So yeah, it's a good race.
It's a fair trip south of the border for you as well.
Yeah, so it's a long trip down. We're getting older these days, so we're making less and less trips. So yeah, see what happens.
It's obviously, what people would fair to understand is you're probably one of the most northerly based F2 drivers.
Yeah, it's worked out on one of them, and it's a lot of miles even just to get to Cowdenbeath, which is one of our local tracks. It's like 2.5 hours, so yeah, it's a long journey, especially down here to Skegness, about 8.5 hours, so yeah, a lot of commitment.
Of course, we've got their Nate Cheaton still competing on the thingy, but unfortunately had a month off. But obviously back on the nose straight away.
Yeah, the month with a bit of a layoff was a bit of a shambles really. We weren't very happy how we were treated, but we keep coming back, so we just got to get on with it and do what we do best this race. So try and ignore all the other shenanigans that goes on.
Of course, now you're looking, obviously this year, are you looking towards another world final, chasing that one? I know you're well up in the points, but not great. It's not a great score. You do need probably to come down here in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, we're going to bank on hopefully scraping in at the back. We're not going to come to Skegness, I don't think, unless we win the UK today. We may make an appearance down, but I think we're going to hopefully scrape in the back and hopefully come through from there. Fingers crossed.
There's 30 at the moment. I've been running the points. I reckon about 44 should see you onto the grid. At the moment, I think you're just about that.
Yeah, I think I'm 44th in the points and top 56, so hopefully we can just hang in there and get a place in the back of the grid. Even if we're a reserve, I'm sure there'll be a few folk who won't turn up, so I'll be quite happy just to start at the back, let the action happen at the front and hopefully pick up the places and get a top 10, because obviously the World Final's a lottery anyway, so usually, so see what happens.
Indeed. Just a quick quote about last night. Of course, you had a few shenanigans, as you said, with Mr. Moody. He put a big one in on him.
Yeah, it wasn't as big as I would have liked to have been, but the way he's been dishing out to me, I think he needs to get it back to learn a few lessons or see. But if that's the way he wants to drive, we've just got to drive the way he's dished out to me. So fortunately, it's not the way I like to race, but it's the way we're going to have to race from now on. And there's been a few other people at Cowdenbeath that have taken disliking to me and fired me in the walls. So fortunately, we have to start being Mr. Nice Guy and start returning the favour.
Interesting to see that Robbie was not too happy with his performance with the bumper on the Saturday night. He wanted a bit more harder hit on Gordon, by the sounds of things.
Yes, I mean that was. I have to admit, I didn't see that. I just heard. I was commentating on the race. I heard noise from the crowd to my right. Obviously, we're talking about something that happened on the Saturday evening between 7 and 8:54. And I just happened to see Gordon Moody sort of like taking an extremely wide line on the seaside bend. Really, I don't quite know what to say about this, other than it's pretty obvious that it isn't over between those two. It clearly not.
I think Gordon has got No, no. And it'll be when Gordon goes back to, obviously, Skegness is on, obviously, it's summer break at the moment, but, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm getting Skegness.
It's all the excitement of all these semi-finals grid and Skegness and
It's Skegness on the brain, and much as I love the place, it's not, it's not the kind of place I want to have on the plane. The greatest respect to Skegness, it's not the most affluent place, but never mind. We'll go to Cowden Beef, yeah. So when the Cowden Beef come back off their break, it's back to all matters domestic. I think we could have a bit of fun up at the race wall. But yes, I suppose, yeah, they say Robbie in fine form on the interview. It's very rare because it's usually not a bloke to chat too much, and he was.
No, that's probably one of the best or worst interviews that Robbie's done. Delete as applicable. I don't recall ever interviewing Robbie, to be fair, actually. Having said that, I can't recall ever interviewing him.
Yeah, well, that's one for perhaps on semi-final day, shall we say? Okay, we're going to have a look now at the UK Open. We had obviously a few heats and consolations, and they all went to the form book as from the previous night. But it was a strange-looking grid, to say the least.
As is so often the case with points on heats, to be honest with you, it always throws up, particularly as we just discussed with the Skegness local drivers perhaps being a little bit undergraded this year. They were all to the fore of the grid, but the one who was right towards the grid, of course, was Gordon Moody.
Second row outside is not usually a good place to start in any race of a closed grid format, but he's certain.
No, yeah, that's right, and he bided his time and made sure that his car was in a safe position, and then got to the inside. It was class stuff from Gordon.
And it was basically all over, Barter shouting until 3 to go.
Yes, a 3-lap dash restart. We had Jan Beckers across the track on the track shop bend, and there was 2 back-marking cars between Gordon and James Riggle, who was running in second, but James Riggle with a blinder of a restart. And at the restart, he actually vaulted the 2 cars that were back markers and ended up right behind Gordon.
And we thought he's going to have a little nibble here.
And he clearly was up for it, but unfortunately his prop shaft wasn't.
Exactly, and unfortunately he ground to a halt. Gordon sped away in the distance. Behind him, there was a nice little scrap between Jan Beckers, Vim Peters and Kelvin Marshall, and it was, like I say, a bit of a grandstand finish for those pair, but it was Marshall and Peters that took second and third. I don't know whether you can understand what was the story with Vim Peters, his post-race celebrations. He went right up to the Moody bumper.
Yeah, I think I don't think there is any real story other than there is obvious a bit of battle for supremacy between the British silver top and the Dutch silver top. It's nothing more than that.
We shall see you over at Venray soon then.
Yes, they were going to say the pair were very much to the fore at the World Cup there last year.
Indeed. So that was the story. Gordon Moody, UK Open winner for I think the 5th or 6th time now, isn't it? Yes. So 6 times UK Open champion. Obviously, last year very unfortunate with involved in the first bend incident, which wiped out most of the grid, as I seem to remember.
I say we're obviously talking about last year now. I mean, you use the word unfortunate. Yes and no. It's Mickey Brennan decided it was time to call in a debt. It was simple as that, really.
So, with that in mind, that was the end of Skegness. Now, I would say it wasn't a classic this year. I'm just going to say that, and that seemed to be the general consensus on social media, that it wasn't. And that's where the kind of glass bumper kind of situation came into it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, to be honest, there are some who are just relentless with their glass bumper thing. We need to get ourselves to some of these northern sheep fields, Johnny, I think, to watch this relentless outlaw stock car action that's clearly going on. Anyway, but Yes, we digress again.